This is a review for The Miller's Daughter, released in 1934. It's the 86th in the series, and it's directed by Friz Freleng. Since recording the original audio commentary, there is now a new HD version out, and hopefully one day it'll make its way on disc. Sadly, I can't play it here due to copyright on YouTube. If I try to upload it without any edits, it'll just get blocked. But in case you haven't seen it, it's your typical things coming to life short, although this time it just takes place in a home, specifically in the attic. So first up you're going to see is a re-edit of the original audio commentary I did before I had to take that down due to copyright and all that. You'll hear some new thoughts from me, and then from my good friend Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor, who will discuss the music in this short, as it is a music-focused short. So without further ado, let's get into it. And we have shades of Sylvester and Tweety here, which is pretty amusing given that this was directed by Friz Freleng, who would go on to direct the Sylvester and Tweety series in the late 40s and 50s and early 60s. And look at that, we've got animation credit to Charles M. Jones, better known as Chuck Jones. He had been uncredited in a few cartoons previous to this, but this is his first on-screen credit, so there you go. But this one is yet another inanimate object coming to life, and then the villain coming at the end. But at least this one's got some nice moments, and the music in it's pretty good too. But so he goes upstairs. He tries to rescue her, and and all sorts of things happen. So he glues it together, and you get a little, a sweet little joke, I guess. But here you got the sheep version of Mammy. So, which is weird, and I think it's probably the only time I've seen the Mammy joke without an actual blackface involved, so there you go. This is a classic example of how good Friz's timing was. I mean, the timing of the piano is amazing. And what we're going to be seeing here very shortly is the first appearance of Three Stooges. So, given that this came out in 1934, this was roughly when the first few Three Stooges came. They had been in films earlier than that, of course, with Ted Healy and Three Stooges. Gotta love the tongue gag there, of course. But in 1934, 33 or 34, I believe, that's when the first Three Stooges came out. And the first one, actually, I don't particularly like, but once the second one came out, it was... So here we're going to have a rendition of the Blue Danube, done to the sounds of the alarm clock chimes. It's pretty nice. I'm wondering if that's rotoscoped, because it's so different and it's so, I guess, perfect. Like, the movements are so fluid. It's either they had an artist that was just so good at it, or they rotoscoped it. It just looked that way. And there'll be another example of a similar rotoscoping coming up very shortly. I believe this is rotoscope, but look, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but it just looks like it. If you look at this, just how it moves, it just feels like a rotoscope shot. I mean, look at that. That's nice. It really is. Definitely a highlight of this cartoon. And watching these cartoons for these commentaries, you'll find little gems like this. This is certainly not a famous Looney Tunes moment or anything, but then when you discover, in inverted commas, these moments, I'm just glad I'm doing these. Of course, we need a villain, right? It's got to be a lion. Some might say it's anticlimactic. I say it's perfect, given the nature of this villain. So they'll escape through this door, close it, bang, it just shatters. So yeah, it's appropriate. So those are my original thoughts, and since then, this beautiful restoration has come out, and I'm really glad for it, because I think all of them should be restored. Even these ones, they may not be particularly popular. I don't think people are exactly demanding these shorts to be restored per se, but I do, because I think there is a lot of good in these earlier shorts, even if they're not crazy, laugh out loud, funny, once Tex Avery enters the scene. So this time round, as with all merry melodies, the song being promoted is The Miller's Daughter, and my good friend Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor, will be discussing the origins of that song and any other information he can dig up about it very shortly. So I'll go through some bits that I missed in the original commentary, and then he can discuss the music. As I mentioned, this is a beautiful restoration, and the good thing about it as well is that you can clearly see the inking that was done, especially on the main characters, where they're inked differently to the other characters. So they really pushed to make sure that these characters actually look like ceramic figures, like they are, and it looks pretty nice. You didn't see that level of detail in that really old, I don't know, 5th or 6th generation VHS version that seems to be lurking about. But let's have a look at the shorts from start to finish on all the bits that I missed. So I noticed with this one, unlike a lot of the earlier Merry Melody shorts where things just end, there's no payoff to anything because stories seem to be an afterthought, right? But here at least we get a small setup. So you got the cat and the bird, the cat's interested in the bird, and then the cat's the one that caused the ceramic figure to fall down, and the person, I don't know if it's the owner or a maid or whoever she is, she notices that it's fallen down and takes it to the attic. So the cat is not seen actually destroying this ceramic figure by the owner, and that's where we get the payoff later on. And this time around, it's nice to see that it's not taking place in an actual store, so the attic, there's ripe opportunities there to have things come to life in interesting ways, and I'll get to that in a moment once things actually do come to life aside from these two ceramic figures. But when this boy ceramic figure tries to get the lamb to jump down, it's weird how the lamb jumps down, misses the pillow, but doesn't break. Kind of weird, but anyway, whatever. We'll leave it at that. Another minor detail in the background that I missed because, again, the quality was so poor the first time round, it says Topeka apple knockers, and an apple knocker is an old-time slang for an apple picker. So, yeah, I was wondering, okay, apple knocker, yeah, must be something, and sure enough, yeah, it's old-time slang. You know, I do have to wonder, okay, so this boy ceramic figure fixes the girl ceramic figure. How would the woman of the house react to see this ceramic figure all fixed up back in its original place? It'd be kind of freaky. Oh, and we see a butt joke of sorts, but hey, it's nice to see that the boy figure is a gentleman, allows her to fix her own butt. But anyway, okay, sure. And we see the spider bit, as already mentioned in the track, and I've mentioned the Three Stooges and all that. But it's typical at this point of the Merry Melodies history where the story will just grind to a screeching halt just for the song to be promoted. Sometimes they'll have the song naturally weave throughout the story, but here it feels like, okay, we got to stop the cartoon and just do this one song, and that's that. But anyway, whatever. And during that song, we see the silhouettes, as I mentioned in the commentary, but why did this statue of the thinker, that's what it's referring to there, but the thinker turn on this lamp, and then we see the skeletons? Kind of weird. I don't know. Must be a punchline there? I don't know. I mean, it's not an X-ray or anything, but yeah, whatever. And I just wanted to touch further on that silhouette paper art print bit, which still looks amazing, and it looks way better now that it's restored as well. It's quite clear that it is rotoscoped, but given the budgets at the time for these cartoons, they probably didn't have the budget to film a sequence, so they probably found some random scene in a Warner Brothers film, maybe a cut scene or whatever, and they just rotoscoped it. If you do know where it comes from, let me know, but as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been identified. But this art form, the silhouette paper art, that was actually very, very popular between roughly 1790 and 1840 in America. And it would still be around, but it would have a mini resurgence of sorts because that would be used a lot in the early 20th century, mostly in books. So they would have the books and then have the silhouette showing off certain scenes in the book, as it was a lot easier to print in that way. And as with a lot of the Merry Melody shorts around this time, the last third deals with a villain of sorts. This case is just generic ceramic lion. Yay. But I do like how the lamb goes, "Hi, big boy," and sure enough, the lion just wakes up. Causes a little bit of trouble, but as I mentioned in the track, it's kind of anticlimactic, but what do you expect? It's made of ceramic, so of course it's going to shatter at the first being slamming into a door like that, but anyway. And at the very end, as I mentioned, yeah, we get that payoff where the cat is now blamed for the lamp falling down, and this woman now chases the cat away, although you do have to wonder, why does she continue to chase this cat even when it's outside? Wouldn't you be just saying, shoo, go away, and goes outside, and that's it. But anyway, whatever. Maybe she likes this lamp more than those figures. I don't know. Whatever. So I've been prattling on long enough, so my good friend Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor, is going to now discuss the music of this short. As I mentioned, it's the main focus here. So take it away, Manny.
Hi everyone, this is Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor, coming at you with the latest edition of It's Time for Manny's Music Time with music trivia for you today. Bum! Well, I did it all in one breath. Go me. And today I'll be talking about the 1934 Merry Melody, The Miller's Daughter, directed by Isidore Freeling, better known as Friz Freeling. So let's jump right into this one, shall we? So there are several cues in this cartoon, and I'm going to go in order, and I'll talk about each cue and go from there. So the cartoon starts off, obviously, with I Think You're Ducky, the Merry Melody's theme at the time, and the title track, The Miller's Daughter, comes right during the opening credits, and you hear it throughout the cartoon.
Pretty little miller's daughter, and she loved the shepherd on the hill. There was a pretty little miller's daughter, and she loved the shepherd with the will.
So, The Miller's Daughter was composed by Lou Handman, and the lyrics were by Alfred Bryan. There is no commercial recording of this piece. If you want to listen to it, just watch this cartoon. So let's talk about the composer himself. Lou Handman was born September 10th, 1894 in New York City. I found a nice little connection between Anthony and I in this one because Lou Handman did vaudeville shows in the state of New York and obviously New York City. And he also went to the land down under, mate. He went to Australia and did some vaudeville shows over there. So you look at that, the things you find. He was a pianist and an accompanist, and he also served in World War I. And after the war, he went back to work in the music industry. With the lyricist Roy Turk, he wrote his most famous song, Are You Lonesome Tonight, in 1926, with the most famous version of that song being recorded decades later by Elvis Presley, whose birthday was almost 2 weeks ago on January 8th. So happy belated birthday, Elvis. I'm recording this on January 21st, 2024. He also wrote, when it comes to Warner Brothers cartoons, the only other one I can think of is Puddinghead Jones with Alfred Bryan, who I'm going to talk about in a moment. And Lou Handman died in Flushing, Queens, New York City, on December 9th, 1956. And that information comes from the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Now let's talk about Alfred Bryan. So we had a connection with Anthony, and I'm pretty sure that Blue Genocide, most likely he'll edit this audio track or the video itself, because Alfred Bryan, the lyricist of this song, was born September 15th, 1871 in Brantford, I'm probably saying it wrong. Brantford? Sure, let's go with that. Brantford, Ontario, Canada. He excelled in literature when he was in parochial school, and then he decided to move to New York City in the late 1880s to pursue songwriting. Throughout his career, he partnered with composers like Fred Fisher, Al Piantadosi, George Meyer, and no, not the George Meyer who was a writer in The Simpsons. Of course, there's my Simpsons reference of the day. Larry Stock, Alfred Gumbel, Joe McCarthy, and John Klenner. And a connection to my home state, Alfred Bryan did pass away. Well, yeah, I mean, he was born over 150 years ago. He died on April 1st, 1958 in Gladstone, New Jersey, which is west of where I live. And no, it wasn't an April Fool's joke. He actually did die on April 1st. So that's pretty much it about the title track itself. Let's dig into the other ones that you hear in this cartoon. Probably the most, well, I would say the second most famous song that's used in this cartoon is the next one, which is I Only Have Eyes for You by Harry Warren and Al Dubin from 1934. Two names that you've never heard before in Manny's Music Time. Of course, I say that in jest. So you hear this song when the boy and the sheep go upstairs to try to repair the girl whose legs were broken, since these characters are all made out of, I believe it's ceramic. I thought it was porcelain, but let's say ceramic. And I believe this is the first time, and not the last, that you hear I Only Have Eyes for You in a Warner Brothers cartoon. The song originates from the 1934 movie Dames, which I talked about in earlier commentary for The Girl on the Ironing Board, because that song also originates from the same film. I'm going to save going in depth about this song until I get to the cartoon of the same name, the Tex Avery Merry Melody from 1937. So let's put a pin in it, and I'll come back to it in, who knows when, whenever Anthony gets to 1937. If you want information about Harry Warren, I suggest you listen to my commentary of A Great Big Bunch of You. And I recently finally did a little deep dive into Al Dubin. Listen to the commentary for The Girl at the Ironing Board for information about him, because, again, Warren and Dubin are two of the most famous names in the Looney Tune Merry Melody Q history. They're kind of like the Lennon-McCartney of Warner Brothers cartoons at this point. The next one we have is Cuban Cabaret by Reggie Childs and Burt Kaplan. This is the rumba, it's a nice little Latin rhythm that you hear. And this is in the scene where the girl starts dancing with the piece of cloth. That particular animation of the girl dancing, you're going to see that one in other cartoons later down the road. And this is the first cartoon that it comes from. And when I saw that, I was like, man, I've seen that particular animation quite a few times in the early to mid-30s Merry Melodies in particular. So, the final cue that you hear in this cartoon is probably the most famous piece of music of ever, I would say. So the name of this particular piece is called, and I'm going to say it in German, I'm probably going to butcher it, An der schönen Blauen Donau. There you go. Keep that one. Which in English translates to By the Beautiful Blue Danube by Johann Strauss II from the year 1866. The Blue Danube Waltz. Dun, 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 dun. Again, one of the most famous pieces of music ever written. You hear the Blue Danube Waltz in the scene where the boy starts conducting all the different clocks. And you see a scene, this is the one I wanted to mention before, where you see two figures. And it was interesting. It looked like those two dancers. It was a man and a woman dancing. And it looked like it was rotoscoped. So I thought it was pretty interesting. So, the Blue Danube Waltz first premiered in the year 1867, and you're probably saying, what is the Blue Danube? The Danube is a river, the second longest river in Europe, starting in Germany, and it goes throughout the continent over there. I've never been to Europe. Well, I digress. I did go to Russia about 16 years ago, and I know parts of Russia are in Asia and parts are in Europe, but I was in Moscow and St. Petersburg. I believe Moscow is part of the European side of Russia and St. Petersburg, Asia, but I don't have a map in front of me, so if I'm dead wrong, feel free to roast me in the comments, all you geography nerds out there. And a waltz itself is a type of dance and a type of music that's written in 3/4 time. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, so on and so forth, okay? Usually when music teachers instruct students, the different meters, the time signatures, 2/4, 4/4, 6/8, 12/8, so on and so forth. An easy way to remember 3/4 is I always say, think of a waltz, okay? And if they don't know what a waltz is, then I play an example. There you go. Look at that. So here's some information about Johann Strauss himself. Johann Strauss II, let me be clear. This information comes from the Britannica Encyclopedia, and I quote, Johann Strauss II, born October 25th, 1825, in Vienna, Austria, and he died June 3rd, 1899, in Vienna. The Waltz King is his nickname, was a composer famous for his Viennese waltzes and operettas. Strauss was the eldest son of the composer Johann Strauss I. Because his father wished him to follow a non-musical profession, he started his career as a bank clerk. He studied the violin without his father's knowledge, however, and in 1844 conducted his own dance band at a Viennese restaurant. In 1849, when the elder Strauss died, Johann combined his orchestra with his father's and went on a tour that included Russia and England, winning great popularity. In 1870, he relinquished leadership of his orchestra to his brothers Joseph and Edward in order to spend time writing music. In 1872, he conducted concerts in New York City and Boston. Oh, look at that. He made it to the States. Strauss's most famous single composition is An der schönen blauen Donau, 1867, or the Blue Danube Waltz, the main theme which became one of the best-known tunes in 19th century music. His many other melodious and successful waltzes include Morgenblätter, so Morning Papers, 1864, Künstlerleben, 1867, An Artist's Life. Ooh, this one's a tricky one. Let's see how good my German is. Geschwinten aus dem Wiener Wald, 1868, or The Tales of the Vienna Woods. Wein, Welt und Gesang, 1869. Wine, Women, and Song. Amen to that. Well, you could keep the wine. I don't drink. Wiener Blut, 1871, Vienna Blood. And Kaiserwalzer, 1888. Of his nearly 500 dance pieces, more than 150 were waltzes. Among his stage works, Die Fledermaus, 1874, which in English means The Bat, became the classical example of Viennese operetta. Equally successful was Der Singer, the heck with it, I'll just say in English, 1885, The Gypsy Baron. Among his numerous other operettas are 1873's The Roman Carnival and 1883's A Night in Venice, unquote. I know Strauss II mainly for his waltzes like Tales from the Vienna Woods, Vienna Blood, the Blue Danube, and both the Blue Danube and Tales from the Vienna Woods are the two pieces of music that are featured in the classic 1943 Merry Melody, A Corny Concerto. Tales from the Vienna Woods is the first one with Porky hunting Bugs Bunny, and the Blue Danube Waltz is the one with the, I guess, Daffy Duck-ish ugly duckling with the geese and all that. And I'm also familiar with Die Fledermaus. I know friends that have performed that particular opera before. Operetta is usually a lighter opera. It's more humorous, and usually it's not as long as a full-blown opera to my knowledge. But yeah, Johann Strauss II is definitely a composer I have read about, studied about. And again, the Blue Danube Waltz is one of those pieces of music that will transcend time. Like this, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, multiple pieces by Mozart, Bach, just, like I said, pieces that will hopefully live on forever and ever. I forgot to mention earlier that for the information for Alfred Bryan, I did get it from the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame, so thank you to them for that information. So, those are my thoughts for The Miller's Daughter. I haven't seen this cartoon in a while. You know, run-of-the-mill, early to mid-30s Merry Melody. Nothing really stood out. It's usually the musical parts that catch my attention more, and I love digging deep into them. And I could have dug even more, but I don't want to spend a huge time on this particular cartoon because I got to go to bed. So thanks for listening. It's always a pleasure. Feel free to follow me on social media at The Toony Tenor, TheTooneyTenor, for my life as a working musician and as a multifaceted geek of many things. You'll definitely see lots of Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies posts, as well as other things that I'm really into, especially now with Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles, because the 40th anniversary of those things are this year. And look at that. It's the 90th anniversary of this cartoon. But it definitely doesn't hold up as well as as the original Mirage comic of Ninja Turtles from May of 1984, and obviously Ghostbusters that premiered in theaters June 8th, 1984. So, thanks for listening, folks. Have a great night, day, whenever you're listening to this, and that's all, folks. I think that's what the boy says at the end. Whatever. Bye.
That's all, folks.
Thank you, Manny. Look, this short's nothing special. It's middle of the road, your typical Merry Melodies of the time, but it's nice to see within this restoration some further details missed from last time, and it looks nice. It's got great timing by Friz Freleng, the music's great, some of the gags are nice, and you've got two beautiful bits involving rotoscope. But it's just okay, it's 6 out of 10. It's fine for what it is, just don't go expecting go in and having a lot of laughs or anything like that. But That'll do it for this review. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.